Welcome back, everyone, to the next installment of Chaos Child. Last time was pretty embarrassing, but we did learn something. Our trigger delusion scenarios might just stick when we use them. So let's take a look at October 15th and see what happens. Medical examiner system? The medical examiner system. A legal system that allows for a coroner, as well as a doctor who has been given permission by the area's governor, to dissect a body that died under suspicious circumstances and determine the cause of death. This system is only in use in Yokohama, Nagoya, Osaka, and Kobe, as well as the 23 wards of Tokyo. Many people believe that Japan lags behind the rest of the world in this area, and every year there are calls for the system's expansion, but as of now there are no signs that it will actually take place. This system allows for an examination, or in some cases an autopsy, to determine the cause of death in accidents, or when a person has died from disease or an unknown cause. The work of the medical examiner is done as follows. In the event of an unusual death, first the forensic officer conducts an examination, followed by a post-mortem for the medical examiner. The process of having a doctor determine the time and cause of a body's death. If the death is ruled to not be abnormal, a death certificate is created and the process ends there. If the death is ruled abnormal, the body is sent to be autopsied. If the cause of death can be determined, the body is then turned over to the family. If the postmortem examination fails to determine the cause of death, only then does the examiner conduct an autopsy. And if it is judged that a crime was involved, a further, more expensive judicial autopsy is conducted, but such an autopsy had already been performed on Tomoaki Watabe. It was extremely unusual for a second autopsy like this one to be performed. Shinjo averted his eyes from the coroner's knife. He'd been to many judicial autopsies, but it was something he'd never gotten used to. He probably never would, he thought. As for the person standing next to the coroner, she was staring at the open skull without the slightest trace of disgust.
やはり肥大化の傾向が見られるな。
肥大化というと脳が。
この状況で他に何がある？解凍された頭を見て内臓の肥大がわかるとでも言うのか?
Shinjo's shoulders slumped a little. When he'd first met her, he'd been unsure of how to handle her, but now he actually felt kind of worried for her. Didn't that get tiring after a while?
さっき聞いた話じゃ、死因は間違いなく窒息死ということだったが。
窒息だけでこんな風にはならない。
ってことは、これまでの被害者と同じってわけか。脳の肥大の原因については？
何しろ検体が少なすぎる。果たしてこの症状が一連の被害者だけに見られるのか、それともギガロマニアックスに共通するものなのか。
わからないか。
知る方法ならあるにはあるがな。
何？
あの二人、宮代拓と有村ひなえの頭を開いて調べればいい。そうすればこれがギガロマニアックスに共通する症状なのかどうかわかるだろう。
Just X-ray, damn.
バカなことを言うなよ。そんなことできるわけがないだろ
う。冗談だ。今は CT や MRI があるんだ。
Yeah, there we go.
わざわざ脳をむき出しにする必要もない。
Sorry, just a little joke, just a little humor from the biz.
なんだ。私が冗談を言うのがそんなに意外か?
Kind of.
いや。
Shinjo thought to himself that she probably wasn't joking. She didn't like gigalomaniacs, she hated them. And from the bottom of her heart, he didn't know why she despised them so much. I mean, someone killed a family member or son. Of course there was probably a good reason for it, but he wished she would tone it down a bit. They probably didn't become gigalomaniacs by choice, and more than anything, he didn't want to lose their help with the case.
さて、これからどう捜査していったらいいんだろうな。
If there were still test subjects under the hospital, there were things the police could do. But when he'd gone down there, there wasn't a trace of anything left.
証拠ならあるだろう。
That did kind of weird me out. He runs around in a panic, but then nothing comes of it. I guess he just left. Kunosato's voice was as cold as ever.
証拠？
何のためにあの娘を連れ出したと思ってるんだ。知ってることを全部吐かせろ。
おいおい、相手は子供だぞ。
子供じゃない。危険なギガロマニアックスだ。
Shinjo rubbed his temples, unsure of what to say. Still. Trustworthiness Investigation Corporation, Frisia. Katsuko Momose sat in a reception room in a messy corner of her office and sighed as she ran her hand through her hair.
返してください。私を返してください。
No matter how many questions she asked or how she tried to get her to talk, that was the only answer she would get. Sometimes she tried asking if there was anything she wanted, or if she felt like eating anything, but the answer was always the same.
お願いです。返してください。
I mean, now that doesn't even work. No one's there. She hadn't made even the tiniest bit of progress since the girl had arrived. Even the endlessly patient Momose would want to sigh after all that. She still didn't know where this Uki Yamazoe girl was from, or how she'd ended up in that hospital, but from what she'd seen, there was a chance she'd endured significant abuse. And then she was suddenly rescued from it and taken to a completely different environment, so she must have been very confused. She knew from experience that victims like that needed to be treated very carefully.
私が早く帰らないと皆さんが困ってしまうんです。
She kept repeating the same lines like a broken audio player. Momose was starting to think it was time for a different approach. She didn't know what would happen if she told the girl this, so she'd kept it a secret until now.
ちゃんと話して現実を認識させてあげた方がいいかもしれない。
お願いです。私はあそこへ戻らないといけないんです。
しょうがない。話してみようか。
Once she made a decision, she didn't spend any time on second thoughts. This was both an advantage and a disadvantage.
あのね、ウキちゃん。
はい。
そこまで帰りたいというのなら教えてあげるわ。
返してくれるんですね。ありがとうございます。
聞いて。あなたがどれだけ帰りたいと望んでももう無理なのよ。
無理。
だってあなたがいたあの場所、病院の地下にあったあの場所はもうなくなってしまったんだから。
That is true. Momose was relieved to finally see Shakanuki's face.
よかった。この子にはちゃんと普通の感情がある。
Like Kurusu had said, they hadn't done any operations on her that would destroy her ability to experience emotions.
この前ね、あなたがここへ来てからすぐに刑事、若いくせにくたびれた刑事いたでしょ。彼が例の病院へ行ってみたんですって。
The girl simply listens to Momose speak, her eyes wide. Momose kept talking, watching her carefully.
それでね、解剖室から地下へ行ったそうよ。あなたのいた場所へね。でもね、そこには何もなかったって。あなたがいた部屋の中も空っぽだったそうよ。
そんな、じゃあ皆さんは、あそこにいた皆さんは。
いなかったそうよ。誰も。
誰も。
Uki seemed to be trying her best to understand what Momose just said. And then...
嘘です。
そんな嘘ついて何になるの。本当のことよ。
だってそれじゃあ私はどうすれば。私はどうすれば。
Tears started to silently fall from Uki's eyes.
はは、どうしたタクル、新規臭い顔しやがって。
顔は生まれつきだよ。
は、なんで、もう少し面白いこと言ったらどうなんだ、ん？
Dad was as jovial as ever. Without his lab coat, no one would ever believe he was a doctor.
どうだ、あ？やっぱ自分の家が一番落ち着くだろ
う。別にそうでも。
ま、一人暮らしを始めたばっかじゃまだそうは思えんか。でもな、いずれわかる時が来るもんだ。我が家が一番ってな。
In the end, I'd come back here to Aoba dorm, because Kurusu had told me to do so at school.
狙われているのかもしれないんでしょ。今の場所に一人でいては危険よ。
That is very true.
ずっととは言わないわ。しばらくで構わない。事件が解決するまでうちで暮らしなさい。
The only real concern I have is that this might put other people in danger, but at the same time, like if we're alone, we're in real trouble. I wasn't her slave or anything, but just like she said, it was dangerous to be alone right now. Take this. I mean, period. Especially when we didn't know who the killer was or what they were after. If someone was nearby, it would be easier to get a hold of Shinjo and his allies if I needed to. And I was probably never going to be able to tell this to Kurisu, but the feelings I'd felt when I'd left home were starting to disappear. After seeing Kurisu get hurt, or try to protect me, or cry for my sake despite being such a strong girl, I started to understand some things that I hadn't known when I'd left. I realized what I was thinking and shook my head. No way. I wasn't like Yuto, who could never seem to get away from his sister.
おい、何赤くなってんだよ。
なんでもない。
とにかくさっさと荷物置いてこい。お前の部屋はノノのやつがちゃんと掃除してくれてる。
ああ。
Dad didn't get mad when I'd left, or when I'd come back. Come to think of it, he'd only said one thing on the day I'd left.
そうせざるを得なかったノノの気持ちがわかるようになったら戻ってこい。じゃあな。
荷物置いてくる。ねえ、
父さん、タクル兄が帰ってくるって。
As I went toward my room, Yui appeared. I could see Yuto behind her.
おう、タクルならもう帰ってきてんぞ。
Yui's face almost broke into a broad smile when she saw me, but quickly forced herself to assume a strict expression.
何やってんの？
え？
お風呂とキッチンと廊下の掃除。タクル兄が当番の時、私とユウが代わりにやってたんだから。
Damn, just right to business.
悪い。
I apologize without thinking.
これからしばらく私たちの当番、タクル兄が代わってよね。いい？
おう。
タクル兄ちゃん、別にいいよ。僕気にしてないから。
ダメ。こういうことはきちんとしなきゃいけないんだから。親しき仲にもって言うでしょ。
でもそんなこと言ったらタクル兄ちゃんまたどこか行っちゃうよ。せっかく帰ってきたのに。
ダメなものはダメなの。
なあタクル、ユイのやつノノに似てきたと思うか？
うん。特に怒ってる顔が。
なんか言った？
いえ、なんでもないです。ごめんなさい。
Yui put her hands on her hips and puffed up her flat chest to glare at me. Thank you for that. She did look just like Kurisu when she did that.
もう父さんが甘やかすからタクル兄は勝手なことばっかり。
おっと、今度はこっちに飛び火か。
で、タクル兄、もうどこにも行ったりしないんでしょうね。
いや、その
タクル兄がいなくなってどれだけのの姉が悲しんでたか分かってる？ユウだってすっごく寂しがってたんだから。
そっか。
私も私は別に何でもなかったけど。
What a save. And suddenly the expression on her face changed.
何でもなかったけど。
おいゆい
Stop that. I'm not good with that stuff. I can't handle it when people cry.
何でもない。
Yui covered her face with her hands and then ran into her room. Yuto followed quickly after her. Dad scratched his head and sighed a little as he saw them go.
ほら、さっさと荷物置いてこい、タクル。
わかった。
I got away as quickly as I could. That scared me. I didn't expect Yui to start crying all of a sudden. I thought nothing would really change around here even if I left, but did they really need me here that much? If they did...
いや、でも。
Since I was lost in thought, the knocking sound startled me.
誰だ?
That was weird. It's basically the same thing. As I sat there lost in thought, I was suddenly startled by a knock at the door, but he was clearly talking. And what did he say? Like, who is it? Or something like that? Or what is it?
タクル兄ちゃん。
ユウトか。
のの姉ちゃんが着替えたら降りてこいってご飯だって。
サンキュー。どうした？
さ、ゆいお姉ちゃんのことだけど。
Yui crossed his hands over... No. Yuto crossed his hands over his stomach. Yui's the sister. And fidgeted as he looked up at me.
お姉ちゃん、なんかいろいろ怒ってたけど、本当はずっとタクル兄ちゃんに帰ってきてほしいって言ってて、だから怒ってたのは本気じゃなくって。
大丈夫。わかってるよ。
本当？
だから先に降りててくれ。すぐに着替えていくから。
Yuto looked a little relieved as he left the room.
ユウト、ちょっと背が伸びたな。
Yuto and Yui had come here at almost the exact same time I had.
一緒に暮らし始めた頃はどうなるかと思ったけど。
The Shibuya earthquake hadn't just taken their parents from them, it had caused them severe psychological trauma. During the earthquake, Yuto had been trapped in a dark place for a long time, all by himself. As a result, he was still terrified of darkness and being alone. That was why he still clung to his sister. And Yui, after the nightmarish incident she'd gone through after the earthquake, she'd become desperately afraid of men. Oh, what? At first she was even afraid of me. But over time, we started to open up to one another. When I had left, they had seemed to be doing a lot better. And now Yui had her act together even more. And Yuto was still young, but he did seem a little more grown up than he had before. Even if the world didn't look like it had changed, time was still passing. But what about me? Had I changed?
はい、そろそろいいわよ。それじゃあいただきます。
いただきます。
おほー、すき焼きなんて久しぶりじゃねえか。
何言ってるの、先月もやったじゃない。
あれは鶏肉だっただろう。牛肉じゃないとすき焼きとは言わねえんだ。
そんな贅沢をする余裕うちにはありません。
誰かさんが困ってる人から治療費なんか取れるかとか言っちゃうから。まあ別にいいんだけど。
そういう言い方はねえだろ。もっと尊敬しろ、尊敬。
はいはい。
ほらタクル、お椀貸しなさい。よそってあげるから。
Kurusu reached out her hand towards me.
いいよ。
ダメ。あなた最近ちゃんと食事してなかったんでしょ。遠慮なんてしないの。
Kurusu grabbed the bowl from me and heaped the beaten egg high with meat and vegetables.
はい、ちゃんと食べるのよ。
タクルにこっちにもお肉あるから。はい。
もういいって。
何？のの姉のお肉は食べられても私のは食べられないっていうわけ？
Also, Takaru was smiling, which just doesn't happen ever for any reason.
お前酔っ払いのおっさんかよ。
おい、ちょっと待てお前ら。もう肉ないじゃねえか。
こういうのは早い者勝ちだっていつも父さん言ってるじゃん。
言ってるじゃん。
だからもうちょっと尊敬をだな。
Everyone was seated around a single pot eating dinner. I thought that the only point of dinner was to eat until you were full, but...
タクル、ユウト、お肉のおかわりまだ冷蔵庫にあるからね。たくさん食べて。
おいこら。
父さんは少し痩せないとダメでしょ。野菜食べなさい、野菜。
俺はお前をそんな娘に育てた覚えはないんだがな。
覚えがなくても育っちゃったんだから諦めて。
Part of me enjoyed sitting around the table and listening to everyone's conversation. No, that wasn't true. I definitely wasn't homesick. Maybe it was just that having someone near me made me feel better. Maybe it was having Kurusu offer to help me when I'd been in trouble on my own. But it definitely wasn't that I was happy to be home or glad to have come back to where I belonged.
タクルに
Oh, brother. I was like, T-H-E-R?
タクルにってば。
何？
お茶いるの？いらないの？さっきから聞いてるのに全然答えてくれないんだもん。
ごめん。
そいつのことだ。どうせまた難しいへりくつでもこねくり回してたんだろ
う。へりくつってなんだよ。僕はいつも理路整然と正しい思考を。
はい、ストップ。そんなこといいからお茶は？
Stop. No one cares. Brutal.
できればマウンテンビューを。
うちには置いてませ
ん？ユウトったらどうしたの？ニコニコして。
やっぱりみんな揃ってた方が楽しいなって。のの姉ちゃんだってすっごく嬉しそうだよ。
そう？そうね。そうかもね。
It didn't work. I'd gotten a lot better at seeing my D-sword, but I still didn't know how to grab hold of it. I asked Arimura for help, but her answers weren't really helpful. Unlike with my psychokinesis, all I needed to do was draw my D-sword from the Dirac Sea, right. I should be able to do it alone. But when I was by myself, it was just an illusion. Unless I real-booted it, I wouldn't be able to use it to attack or defend. Yeah, but I mean, if it's a delusion, and someone is attacking you, then you have an audience. So you could delude them with it by making it real, right? Like, I'm still questioning whether you could just do this by yourself. If I wanted to use it as a weapon, I needed to share the delusion with someone else, just like with my other power. At least that's what Aramara had said. Unless I can, like, delude myself? Does that work? Can I look into a mirror and trick myself into believing it's real? But before that, I needed to be able to grab hold of it.
くそ、もう一回。ここから腕を伸ばして剣のイメージを固定化ってくそ
Whenever I tried to get close to the D sword, it moved away from me like a mirage. If I just flailed my arm at it, I couldn't reach it.
手がつる
タクル入るわよ。
あ、ちょ、
あ
I had my hand stretched out like a TV hero in the middle of his transformation. Yeah, I'm just awkwardly reaching at nothing. Even if Kurosu knows what I'm doing, it still probably looks weird. And Kurosu was staring at me, her eyes wide.
違うんだ。ユートに新しいヒーローの変身ポーズをだな。
Yuto's here? What?
ユートはもう卒業したわよ、そういうの。
え、ああ、そうだっけ。
Kurosu put her hand on her cheek and sighed.
もし自分が本物のヒーローになれると思ってるなら、やめておきなさい。
そんなこと思ってないよ。僕いくつだと。
いくつになっても子供なんだからタクルは。
And then she stared into my eyes. I could tell that she wasn't blaming me and that she was genuinely concerned.
タクル、ちょっとそこに座って。
いや、これから風呂に入ろうかなと。
いいから座りましょうね。
あ、はい。
I sat down on the bed as I was told.
タクル。
Kurosu took a step toward the bed and looked down over me. Humans are strange creatures. Whenever someone looks down on us, they seem bigger and more powerful. I quickly stood up and looked down over her instead. When I first met her, she was almost at eye level with me, but now...
これは別にやましいことをするための訓練じゃない。
能力のせいで狙われているのに、そうやってむやみに使おうとするのは。
逆だよ。もっとちゃんと使えるようになれば、自分の身も守れるし、もしもの時は新聞部や青葉寮のみんなのことだって助けられる。
だからそういうのは警察の仕事でしょ。
I mean, yeah, but... haven't stopped the killer yet.
今回の事件、いざって時に警察に何かできるとは思えない。
けど
クルスこそよく口にするじゃないか。僕らのことを守るとかなんとか。でも能力者が襲ってきたらどうするつもりなんだ。
それは。
ほら見ろ。やっぱり僕が能力を磨くしかないんだよ。
Although I will say, technically, you probably could just walk up to them and punch them, right? Like, even the pyrokinetic. Like, they have crazy powers, but they're not teleporters. You could probably just run up to them and punch them or something. Like, they're just people with just weird abilities. That's the scary part, is you don't know what they're capable of. Kurosu stared down at her feet silently. Then she raised her head and looked me in the eye.
ねえタクル、私はあなたのことをずっと見てきたわ。だからわかるの。あなたがこの先何を考えるか。
この先？
タクルはね、必ず自分を危険にさらすようなことをする。例えば自分の力で犯人を捕まえてやろうとか。
That's an awkwardly placed period. You're gonna put yourself in danger. Period. That extra space. I gulped. I hadn't really thought about it yet, but knowing me, I'd probably... No, definitely think that.
なんだよ。能力者でもないくせに余地か。
Because we're extremely predictable?
いつも言ってるでしょ。能力なんかなくてもね、タクルの行動は簡単に読めちゃうって。とにかくお願い。自分の身を守ることだけ考えて。ね、タクル。お願い。
ああ。
じゃあ、約束の指切りね。
Pinky swear? Are we supposed to be little kids? Yeah, that was kind of what I was thinking. No way, that's embarrassing.
嘘ついたら針を1000本飲ますどころじゃ済まさないから。
Ugh, she might mean it. And that's really scary. What? Then the heavens intervened to save me, and a phone rang out like the Gjallarhorn? Is this like a Norse thing? Hey! A horn held by the god who guards the gates of the gods in Norse mythology. So, Heimdall, is that the one? Its sound is said to herald the arrival of Ragnarok. So maybe we don't want the phone ringing out like that specifically? I hadn't gotten a new one yet, so of course it was Kursu's.
出なくていいのか。
今はあなたと話をしているところでしょ。
Honestly, I really appreciate that. Like, I know it's bad for Miyashiro, but like, that just drives me crazy. New thing. Must concentrate on new thing. Like, the person, like, unless you're expecting an emergency, the person calling can wait. That's why it's a phone. You could call back.
でも事件に関係あることかもしれないし。
She must have thought I might be right, because she took out the phone and looked at the screen. And then she looked concerned. Okay, now we can answer it.
新庄さんだわ。
Yeah, that is important. Huh? I'd only said it to distract her, but evidently the call really did have something to do with the case. She quickly hit the answer button and put the phone up to her ear. I watched her nervously.
もしもし、クルスです。はい。はい。
On the other side of the phone, I could hear a note of concern in Shinjo's voice. I couldn't tell for sure, but he seemed to be saying that someone had gone missing. Uh-oh.
いいえ、来てません。だいたいこの家を知らないはずですし。タクルが？
What? What did I do? Kursu moved the phone away from her ear and turned back towards me.
山添さんって子、知ってるわよね。
ああ、例の病院の地下室から助け出した子だよ。
その子がね、行方不明なんですって。
She better not reunite with that old lady.
え？
She was missing?
タクルが連れ出したりしてないかって。
そんなわけないだろ。今日はクルスたちとずっと一緒だったじゃないか。
Well, that concerns me, because Momose, I would imagine, kept a good eye on her. But he's not reporting anything happened to Momose, so I guess she just snuck out?
そうよね。
ちょっと貸してくれ。新庄さんと話したい。
I reached my hand toward the phone. Shinjo had given me the location of an office in a multi-purpose building in Sakuraga Ogacho. That took a couple tries to read. There were rows of desks there stacked high with paper that I normally would have considered a cornucopia of information, but I didn't have time to worry about them now. I rushed up to Shinjo as soon as I saw him.
あの子がいなくなったって、誘拐されたんですか？警察がついててどうして？
いや、電話でも言ったけど、そうじゃなくて。
でも彼女がいなくなったのは事実ですよね。
ちょっとタクル、やめてどうしたの？
悪い。
Uki Yamazo had reminded me a little too much of Senri Minamisawa, and I'd lost control of myself. Kurusu quickly moved to stop me. By the way, Kurusu had come to keep an eye on me. In her words, to make sure I didn't do anything stupid. You know what? Fair.
とにかく誘拐とかそういうんじゃないんだ。いきなり姿が見えなくなってしまって。
だからそれが誘拐されたってことじゃ。
それはないわ。だってこの部屋には私と新庄ちゃん、それにミオちゃんの3人が一緒にいたんだもの。
Yeah, and plus, she obviously was not kidnapped. Like, from her perspective, these three are the kidnappers. Momose, the CEO of Frisia, had been looking confused and concerned ever since I'd arrived. When I'd first met her the night we snuck into AH Tokyo General, she'd seemed like a loud, boisterous sort of woman. What? When? Ever? But now she felt kind of tired.
彼女をソファーに座らせて、俺たちはこっちで話をしてたんだよ。で、ふとソファーを見たら、彼女がいなくなっていた。
I wonder if that means she has not left, and she projected an illusion that she had, or if she projected an illusion that she had so she could actually escape. I wonder if that means if the guy who cut his arm, she was the illusionist to distract him from the other people in the room. Although, why didn't she just do this earlier, right? Like, now is the time?
トイレとかじゃないんですか？
Kurusu pointed at the toilets on the back, but Shinjo put his hand on his forehead, thinking, and said,
真っ先に探したよ。でもどこにもいなくてね。それどころか、窓やドアすら開けた形跡がない。
Is she still here?
考えられることは一つだ。彼女はギガロマニアックスだからな。能力を使って自分で出て行ったんだろう。
能力？
Come to think of it, I still hadn't asked. What power did Uki Yamazoe have?
テレポーテーションとかそういう。
Honestly, like, I don't know if this game would go into that, but teleportation would cause issues. As goofy as this is going to sound, the book, Stephen King's It, addressed what probably would happen with teleportation. If somebody were to suddenly just vanish, then the air that their body had displaced would quickly move to fill the void, and you might hear a pop sound, like a cartoon. Like, it described it in the book as whenever it, the Pennywise clown, would leave, it would be like a bad edit in an old movie where the next frame they're just gone, like bing, like that's probably what it would look like. Kunosato whispered an answer, her voice full of hate, without even bothering to look back at me.
よくわからない。
わからないって。
ああ、彼女、俺たちの質問にほとんど応じる様子がなくてね。能力に関しては、久野里さんが探ろうとしたんだが、無駄だった。
そもそも瞬間移動だとすれば、とうの昔にここを抜け出していたはずだ。だが、あいつはそうしなかった。
Yeah, that's another thing that's strange to me, is why didn't she leave instantly? Unless she's still here, and waiting for us to open a door. Oh my god, where did she go? And then she leaves?
ただ、ウキ君は少し特殊なようだ。今回はそれにやられたらしい。
特殊？
私ね、少し前から考えていたのよ。ウキちゃんを一度どこかの児童養護施設に預けた方がいいかもしれないって。それでさっき新庄ちゃんとミオちゃんに提案したら、快く OK をもらって。
俺は OK なんか出してませんよ。
Yeah, I was gonna say, I don't know what Shinjo thought, but there's no way in hell Kunosato would have been like, sure.
私もです。
There it is.
ちょっと黙っててちょうだい。こんがらがっちゃうから。
Shut up. Momose motioned for them to be quiet.
とにかく OK をもらったの。それで私はウキちゃんを連れて駐車場に降りて、車に乗せようとしたわけ。知り合いの施設に相談してみようって。
Wait, are you kidding me? So she really isn't here, because Momose just took her out?
じゃあ、 彼女を連れ出したのは百瀬さんじゃないですか。
So why was everyone upset that she disappeared? Momose had taken her outside. There was no mystery there. As Kurusu and I stood there with our mouths hanging open, Shinjo interrupted.
という夢を見たんだそうだ。
Okay. So Yamazoe is the projectionist. So she got Momose to get her out, and then Momose had no clue that it actually happened. Good thing this wasn't the kind of delusion that makes you cut open your own stomach and put a speaker in it.
は？夢？
違うわ。あれは絶対にあったことよ。だってウキちゃんの手の感触とか車のエンジンをかけた感覚とか全部リアルに残ってるもの。
けどウキ君を自動車に乗せようとした途端我に返ったんですよね。そしたら百瀬さんは事務所の中にいて俺たちと話をしている最中だった。
Man, oh man, she's lucky that Uke isn't a killer. Or if she was. Well, I guess she would have been with a killer, right? Uke's probably too young to be doing that.
ええ、そうなの。
俺たちは児童養護施設の話なんて提案されてないし、ウキ君と百瀬さんがここから出ていくのも見ていません。百瀬さんとはここでずっと話をしていただけです。間違いありません。なのにウキ君は部屋からいきなり消えた。
どういうことですか？よくわかりません。
多分それが山沢由紀の能力なんだろう。彼女を捕獲したら改めて調べてみよう。
Yeah, I mean, again, just go back to Don't Look at Me or Leaky Noise. They were both tricked into doing what they did without having any idea it happened until they snapped back into reality and then they were dead. Kunosato's use of the word capture pissed me off. I could tell that, like Aramura said, she didn't even think of us as humans, but she didn't have to talk that way about a little girl, did she? Even if she didn't like psychics, did she have to go that far? I glared at her, but Kunosato didn't seem bothered in the slightest.
ウキ君の行き先ですけど、宮代君たちが知らないとなると、あとはあそこしか考えられないですね。
Well, the hospital basement, where the hell do you think she went?
私も今そう思ってたところ。
もしそうだとすれば、少しばかり骨が折れるな。
That's very true. But I mean, really, do you think maybe she went to the place that she kept endlessly talking about wanting to go back to?
どこなんですかそれ。
Shinjo answered me with a bitter sigh.
君もよく知ってるところだよ。あの子の元の家だ。
え？まさかそんな。
The only place we know about, come on.
うん。ウキちゃんたらね、あそこへ返してくれの一点張りだったのよ。
あんな地獄みたいな場所に一体なんで？
さてな、とにかく厄介なことになる前に取り戻さないとな。
タクル、ねえタクル。
見つかったらどうするんだよ。
An hour had passed since we'd first spoken to Momose at Frisia. And now we are right in front of the hospital, so for now it's time to stop the installment. Well, we certainly made a lot of progress today, didn't we? We actually went home. We're slowly opening up to our family a little bit, but unfortunately it looks like Uke Yamazoe left. She's gone, and she probably went back to the hospital, although something just occurred to me now, as I'm recording this little epilogue message. If she's an illusionist, do you think the hospital basement was ever occupied? Do you think she was taking care of patients who don't exist and the rooms actually are empty? Maybe this is a bunch of nothing, but I guess we'll find out. Until next time, everyone.